What's going on, guys? TD Wells back in the building, and I hope you're all doing amazing, having a great day, having a great week, and also that your start of 2021 has allowed you to forget what transpired in 2020 and moving forward. I hope that you have a very successful path ahead of you. So anyway, thank you for listening, and I appreciate all you guys that are definitely listening into this podcast, because I've got some special things coming up. And ultimately, I just want to share a few things with you guys and give you some nuggets, some golden nuggets, some pieces, some things that you can take and use and do it on a continuous basis. Now, look, at the end of the day, this might not be for everyone, and it might be for some, and who knows, right? So look, whoever it's for, great, tune in, listen. If not, you don't have to listen. Maybe you can listen to some of the other podcasts that I have here. But again, if you are listening, I do appreciate it. So look, I want to talk today about credit score. And the reason I want to talk about credit score is because I want to ask you, or I want to tell you that if you have a 580 credit score, I want to ask you, is that good or bad? It's probably a little bit of both, right? Now, here's the key and the kicker to having a low credit score. Now, there is a such thing, because I've been in the auto industry and the mortgage industry for a very, 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 very long time. And I say long time, I mean over, 20 years plus, right? So whenever I've seen literally thousands of credit reports, more than likely, chances are. And what I've found is that there is a good 580 credit score and there's a bad 580 credit score. And so what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean is that the credit bureaus are going to be a little tricky with you, because when you're purchasing a vehicle, and I want to digress for a minute, when you're going in and looking for a vehicle, let's just say, right? The auto lender, remember, the manufacturer, if you're looking at, for example, Honda or Land Rover or Porsche or, all of the other ones that are out there, Toyota, Nissan, any of them, right? What ends up happening is that, yes, the manufacturer will fund your deal, because remember, that particular dealership is a franchise dealer, and franchise dealers actually work directly with the manufacturer. So more than likely, chances are, if you're buying a new Nissan or even a pre-owned certified Nissan or Porsche or Honda or whatever manufacturer, they would like to earn your business. They want to keep you coming back, and more than likely, they want to lease you the vehicle, because you will continually come back every 3 years or 4 years or 2 years or whatever the term of your lease is. So with that being said, you have some options. And if you have a good credit score, then they're going to take you. Typically, most manufacturers, to be honest with you, they'll do your loan, but there is a tier level that's used on a daily basis when they're funding your deal. Basically, when the finance manager is getting your deal funded, that's before. And let me just explain, and I know that's another topic, but whenever you're working with a finance department, all they're doing basically is they're taking your credit profile and they're matching it with the criteria of the loan companies at the time that you're waiting. So you might be waiting a little longer than anticipated. That's because they're trying to get your loan bought by the manufacturer, or they're just trying to match it with a particular brand or lender, that will work directly for your credit profile. So going back to whether your 580 is a good credit score or a bad credit score, well, that just depends on where you are. Now, if you have a 580, right, and you haven't made any payments, and you have derogatory accounts, that is bad. That is a bad 580. And actually, I'm surprised that the score would be a 580. Maybe there's something good on there that's keeping it at that point. Now, there's also a good 580, and that's because usually their credit cards are maxed out. But if you just paid all of those things off, or just brought them below the 20%, 25%, actually, you'd want to be probably below 20%. A lot of people say 30, but 20% I think is the safe bet. And if you just got it below that, or even just paid it off if you could, then your credit scores are going to shoot probably by 100 points. Now, I'm just estimating. The disclaimer is that I don't know exactly what it will shoot up too. But if you don't have any late payments, there's no derogatories, and you have a 580 credit score, your chances are pretty high that you're going to increase your scores dramatically by paying off those things. And that's excluding the fact that if you have inquiries, if you have too many inquiries, that's definitely going to lower your score and within the last 2 years. So chances are the ultimate goal for you to do is to get those inquiries off the report. And it's not hard to do, but I can give you some insight as to how to do that. That's on another podcast. But let's finish talking about credit restoration and credit score improvement, because at the end of the day, most people don't care about credit repair, right? They just want to improve their credit score, because that word credit repair is thrown around so much that I don't know if it holds any weight anymore. So that's why I'm really trying to explain and educate you on the process, or any individual in the process of how credit actually works from a utilization perspective. And I know a lot of people know about utilization. I know there's certain things that you can plug in and do. If you already have good credit, good for you. Get your credit scores above 760, because then you will be able to pretty much do and demand whatever it is that you want. Even if your credit scores are 580, and you have, like, say, for example, you're trying to buy a car and you have good paying history on that car. Sometimes what happens is that credit bureau that's being pulled by the lender, by the dealership, is actually an installment loan type credit bureau. Yes, Credit Karma will sometimes show the accurate number, but I'm not exactly sure how great that number would be, because again, it's based on some of the scoring models that particular dealership and or lender will use to get your loan done. So that 580 credit score actually could really be good if, again, they're going to look at it and go, okay, well, this person actually has a 580 credit score. They don't have any derogatories. Their utilization is just a little high. Meaning, again, the credit cards or whatever you have are maxed out or to the point where it's very close to the credit limit. So a lot of times what you can do, the solution to that before going into the dealership, is to go ahead and call your creditor and say, hey, is there any way you can go ahead and raise that credit limit? Now, ask them if they're going to do a hard pull or a soft pull before that happens. But ask them, say, hey, that's just a negotiating tool. Everything's negotiable. That's what I think a lot of people miss. And the credit bureaus are just out there in a way to, yes, they're not necessarily enforcing any rules. So I think that's, again, where a lot of people are fooled. That's done through a whole nother entity that basically oversees the credit bureaus, if you will. So getting back to what I was saying is that I don't know if they are necessarily going to, they being Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, I don't know if they're going to be the ones to actually help you. I just, I don't think that's the case. You really have to figure out how to help yourself in a situation where you have a 580 credit score with no derogatories. But again, if you have a 580 credit score and you have derogatories, that's fine. Life happens to people. It happened to every single person. And I believe in America. And if somebody says that they've always had it perfect, they're not telling you the truth. That's not the honest truth. But hey, maybe some people have, and that's very small. That's a very small percentage. And that's probably someone that's never taken any risks, and they just basically have a job and they pay everything just like it's supposed to be. And it happens, and more power to those individuals. That's amazing. I'm glad that people are out there that can do that and are disciplined enough to do it. But then there's the others that are maybe entrepreneurs or whatever the case may be, or business owners, and you had to take a hit on your credit. But there's things that you can do to basically go ahead and get your credit scores where they need to be. And you don't always have to do everything in your personal name if you know how to properly create and structure certain entities. Of course, when you're buying a property, that's another situation. That's a whole nother topic that I can touch on at some point. But just getting around to the credit scores, obviously every lender is going to look at your score, but there are some specific credit unions or obviously if you're looking for a home and looking to purchase a property, There are loans out there for home purchases that will go down to a 580 and even below. Some will go down to a 500. Obviously, you have to come to the table with money. But at the end of the day, I mean, I was in the mortgage industry for more than 12, 13 years, 10 years actually, around roughly, as a mortgage broker. And then once I got that up and running, I became a direct mortgage lender. And then I feel like, obviously, I think that most people are confused when they're looking for a mortgage and what's needed. If you're looking and you're a first-time home buyer, yes, your 580 credit score will probably qualify to some degree, but you won't be able to take no money out of pocket. I think that's far and few between. So just make sure that you can come to the table with a little bit of money. It is always great to buy a property with no money out of pocket if that's possible, because of where the market is. And I've always taught that. And I have articles dating back to 2006, literally, about how you should put as little money as possible into real estate, and you should buy it you should be able to buy it a certain way. And that's, again, we go back to a whole different scenario and topic that we can touch on at a later date. But that 580 credit score, guys, just remember, there are things you can do. There are solutions. And the first thing you want to do is you want to get that utilization down, right? Before you go into the dealership, like if you're planning, if something's going on with your car, whatever the situation is, right? And you're thinking about going in and getting that new car, make sure that your utilization's pretty low and check your credit. Don't just walk into the dealership. I can't tell you how many times people just walk into a dealership literally trying to get a car, and sometimes they walk out with the car, but then they're a little disgusted because what ends up happening is their rates are very high. And that has nothing to do with the dealership and everything to do with the individual that's buying the car. And not to defend dealerships, because there are some bad ones out there, there's some good ones out there, just like there are good clients or customers that walk in, and there's some bad ones. So with that being said, just make sure that you navigate your way through the process and understanding how to go about buying a vehicle. And if you want to learn more about that topic, I can actually talk more about the steps. There's not really a creative process and like amount of numbers or steps to go by. It's just really just understanding what's needed before you walk through the door. And utilization is important. I think most people just walk through the door. Utilization meaning getting your credit. So here's what utilization is the reason that your credit score is a 580 or a 5 in the 500s is, if you don't have any derogatories, it's because of the utilization. And that utilization just means, really simply, is that whatever your credit limit is. So if you have $1,000 credit limit on your credit card, and you're supposed to only use about 30% of that, which is 300. That's kind of like the whole thing. That's the industry wide number. But again, I still feel like if you can keep it at 20, because that way there's never any mistakes. So you always want to be accounted for on that, the miscellaneous piece of it, because if you do go over that amount, you should be aware that your scores are going to drop they're going to drop, and I can't tell you by how much. I can just tell you they're going to drop. They will drop. And you have to also be aware of the inquiries that you have. So that's one of the other things that you should be looking at that's number 2. Look at those inquiries, look at your utilization, and then just check your credit overall, which I'm sure a lot of people have Credit Karma, which, again, I always talked about Credit Karma, saying that Credit Karma is a third party, and they basically are out to sell you something at the end of the day. Yes, they're giving you a free credit score, but there's obviously there's certain ways that they pay for giving you that score. And ultimately that's through advertising. So if they can advertise you a loan and say, hey, this is a great match for you, nothing against that, nothing against Credit Karma for doing that. But those are all things that they're going to do to persuade you to connect with a lender, because they are an affiliate partner of that lender, which means they're getting paid for them. So those are all things, again, to be aware of, but know what your real score is, because, again, auto lenders are going to use installment loans. And if you're trying to get like a personal line of credit or anything like that, they're going to base it on your installment loan. So what they're doing is they're actually pulling your installment loan record or history through like Beacon scores. And they go all the way up to like FICO and Beacon, those, I can't tell you how a lender is going to look at your entire picture and your profile, but I will tell you that they're going to base it on your installment loans and of course how you make your payments. So those are all things just to consider when you're going out and you're searching for a vehicle and or a house. You just want to make sure that your debt ratios are good and that you have basically reviewed your credit report and your profile from every angle. And make sure that if you do hire someone, that they're a professional and that they understand what you're trying to achieve. Because in many instances, when I'm going to post an image here, in many instances, you don't necessarily always need credit work or restoration. You just may need a little consultation. And, maybe somebody's willing to give you the free consultation, or maybe just pay a couple of bucks for it and do it, just figure out how to do it yourself. And if you don't have the time to do it yourself, then maybe you can hire somebody to help you with that. So look, whatever route you decide to take, just make sure you do your due diligence and understand that, hey, if anyone ever needs any assistance or you want us to help you, my company, Tier 1 Credit Services, can help you out. Now, what I would suggest anyone doing, I'm going to post that link into this page here. And if you want to go ahead, I'm going to be actually giving away one of my free ebooks, and I'm only going to be doing that for like the first week. It's basically 8 chapters. It's a do-it-yourself ebook, and it's got some letters in there. It's got a lot of great information that you could take and plug in. And then what I'll do is, I'll walk you through the whole process, but I would suggest you go through that. Like, a lot of people don't really read, everything, but if I were you, I'd go through those 8 chapters just to understand exactly what you need to do to get your credit scores above 700 or above 680 so that you can go, okay, great, now I can make some decisions and I don't have to live with specific types of loans that I had to take, or that you had to take, basically, versus not making your own decisions and deciding exactly what you need to do. So those are all things that I could plug you into and go ahead and get everyone going. And if you, like I said, if you need any assistance, I'm always here to help you. Just message me here through the podcast or through Anchor, and I'll be more than happy to answer any other questions. If anybody wants to get on a Q&A with me as well, I'm very interested in doing that. Would love to help you guys go to the next step. All right. So looking forward to it. You guys have a great weekend, and just know that everybody deserves good credit. Everybody deserves Tier 1 credit. Thank you for listening.